Hello and welcome to Weird Around Illinois. Not too long ago, we had a talk about the Bigfoot sightings in and around Peoria, Illinois. There was one particular set of Bigfoot sightings that we left out of that report, and that was actually by design. That was the Cohomo monster. Well, we're ready to talk about it now, so let's do that, and let's get weird. So, as I mentioned, we did not include the Cohomo monster in with our Peoria Bigfoot reports, even though it was in East Peoria, Illinois, which you would think was close enough to Peoria to warrant mention. The reason we didn't mention it is because there's some controversy around this. There is some question as to whether or not these sightings were real, whether the original sightings were real, whether later sightings were real, and I didn't want all that to get muddled up with the credible sightings we've had recently from the Peoria area. So today we're going to take a more individual, independent look at the Cohomo monster, also known as Cohomo, Cohomo, or something like that. Cohomo.
Homo, yeah.
Yeah, just first two letters of each word.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the original story?
Well, basically, there's a young man. He was coming home from work, and his car kind of like broke down, or car trouble, I guess. But he decided to stop at Coal Hollow Road, and he had a friend that was there, like up that hill, basically. And so he went to his house. But on his way there, he saw like this monster, this like 12-foot tall, white-haired beast. And so his friend, Randall Emmert, he basically said he saw it too, and he actually eventually made like a report, or basically called the radio station and reported that it is a big hairy monster. That was in 1972, that whole thing.
And well, for starters, 12 feet is definitely above the average size for a Bigfoot.
Yeah, especially for that area. I think we're mainly talking about 7 or 8 feet in that area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's basically second place to the Wendigo, which is like the tallest cryptid on Earth.
yeah, we're talking like Alaska area Bigfoot size. Because like the hairy man of Alaska, they're usually talking like 10 to 12 feet. Maybe this is like the granddaddy of all Bigfoot.
Maybe.
So the town of East Peoria, they went into like a frenzy over the monster, which, as you said, is called Cohomo. And there were over 200 police calls about the monster, which is a whole lot.
Yeah. I don't think they could have been any Cohomo.
Yeah.
Yeah, a hobo.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big one.
But yeah, a lot of people went searching for it. The rumor really spread around. And somehow that eventually led to someone being shot in the foot by accident.
Oh, no.
They need to be as organized as those Indiana cryptid hunters.
Yeah.
They need to have their torches and pitchforks ready.
And like I think several years later, Randall Emmert admitted that his call was a prank.
And I was kind of thinking that maybe Randall just kind of felt bad for the person that got shot in the foot, but several years later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, they did call off the searches after the guy got shot in the foot. I think the local sheriff kind of put a stop to all that and said, no, we'll find the monster. You all just stay home. Because there were like 100 people out there looking for it.
Wow.
Like I said, it was like an Indiana-like response. It was like suddenly you got this whole monster hunting group that comes out of nowhere.
Did Peoria originate from Indiana?
Who knows?
That must be like a very tight-knit group in Peoria, just from our last video.
Yeah, that's true. They do. There's kind of a small town feel to it, so maybe just everybody knows everybody, and they're like, hey, they were after Randall, let's go get him, you know?
Yeah. Talking more about that soon, but till then, there have been quite a few more, more like just in general of Peoria, not just East Peoria, but as in our last video, there have been dozens or over a dozen different Peoria Bigfoot sightings in general in the past 20 years. So if you want to get a lot more details on that, check out the last video, of course. But from here, we had a lot of comments from our last video. It got 6,400 views, which is pretty good on our channel, and we got 87 comments and a few emails. So for now, we're just going to stick with the comments. We have a full list of all the East Peoria comments that I just want to go over because, I mean, it's always fun to go over comments. It's a pretty fun section that we could add. So let's bring it up.
One of the cool things about these comments is so many of them were people sharing their own personal sightings, too.
Yeah, we love that for sure.
Yeah. You know, we're used to the comments where people are just telling us we're crazy or we're stupid or, things like that.
Yeah.
These were actually very positive comments on this video.
For sure. Okay. So the first one I put here. All this talk and no mention of East Peoria, Cohomo monster. Of course we did in this video, so you're welcome for that. And then this one I think is an actual brief story. Cohomo monster ran me out of the woods while deer hunting back in the late 80s. It was still dark, but it was close and very loud. Plenty of stories while growing up there.
See, I find that really interesting because that kind of bridges the gap between these early sightings and these later sightings. Because most of these later sightings were like early 2000s to now, and I kind of wondered why there was that huge gap in between.
Yeah.
Maybe people just weren't as vocal about it, or maybe without the internet, it just wasn't as easy to share that information.
Maybe.
Yeah, they probably thought they'd be called crazy after the prankster literally said they pranked everyone. So.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. And this is from 12 days ago. Also the Lick Creek monster in Tazewell County from the 70s. This one was later replied by a much longer comment. That's why I included that one.
Mm-hmm.
7 days ago. Let me read this out. I believe you're talking about the Cohomo monster. I can say that I've hunted Jubilee State Park for decades. Both fall deer, turkey, 3-month-long season, spring turkey, and mushroom hunt. It was well. Also have fished Banner Marsh since I was a child. I've never seen anything Bigfoot like either. I've seen huge cat tracks at Jubilee once, and packs of coyotes out there can be unsettling walking out in the dark. Howling and yapping from both sides of you.
Okay. So that's one vote against the Cohomo monster.
Yeah. Well, it's fair to give your opinion. Well, I mean, yeah. Pretty reasonable comment. 7 days ago again, there was a Bigfoot scare in the late 60s, maybe early 70s in is it Tazewell?
I think it is Tazewell.
Okay,
yeah.
Tazewell County, that is just across the river from Peoria. It made the news, but is a forgotten case. I heard about it from my mom. I found the news article years ago online. The sheriff shot himself in the foot while searching for this thing. There were whole search parties out looking for it.
Yeah.
So that's probably where we got that, right?
No, that's one of the places, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we looked further into it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so obviously he's talking about the Cohomo monster.
Yeah. And then the last one that we have here, definitely a longer one. This is from 11 days ago. There is still something living in the cold hollow woods in East Peoria, Illinois. Sister was sitting on her steps around 2 in the morning, and she could hear something hollering across the way in the woods. Mind you, there were 3 hills of woods over across the Coal Hollow Road from where she lives. She also said she felt the ground shake, so she got scared and went in the house. I lived on top of that hill, and there were weird things in the woods. There was another group that was doing investigating up there years ago. Don't know if they still do though.
Okay, so that's kind of the counterpoint to the guy who's been out there for 20 years and never saw anything. This is the guy who's been out there, at least that long, and, maybe he hasn't seen anything specific, but he knows there's something weird out there.
Yeah.
Which, I could see that. So, I mean, clearly there are a lot of people who still believe there's something to the Coal Hollow Woods report, or the Coal Hollow Monster report.
For sure.
So let's do a little reality check here. Let's look at the possibilities. Possibility 1 is the whole thing was a hoax. This guy came forward. He said it was a hoax. The first guy's report must have been just, panic or something. And this guy was making fun of him and pranking him, and he made the radio or the call to the radio station. And then what followed was just mass hysteria. Everybody, they're seeing it everywhere because, they believe this thing exists. Now, you could take that a step further, because there are those who believe, and it's something we've talked about before, that mass hysteria can lead to manifestation, like we've talked about with the Slender Man and cryptids like that, or the Rake, where enough people believe in it and it actually starts appearing, and sometimes with video evidence.
Yeah, the Rake was a weird one.
Yeah.
But yeah, for this Bigfoot, I guess it very well could happen. They all saw something that they just couldn't explain, and I don't know.
Yeah, 200 police reports just seems like a lot.
It does.
A hoax. I mean, 200 people got caught up in this mass hysteria and seeing something that wasn't there. I mean, it's physically possible, sure. I mean, that sort of thing can happen, but it just seems odd.
Yeah. I watched a video of basically the actual prankster talking about this whole incident, and he said it was over 250 reports. Yeah, 250.
Wow.
It's really a lot.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess we have to accept the idea that the whole thing was a hoax as a possibility, and that the entire thing was just false reports and mistaken reports and mass hysteria. Manifestation is another possibility, that they made it real through such strong belief that they had in it. But another possibility, and I guess, well, we could talk about what we believe later, but this one seems very plausible to me, that Mr. Emmert's report was a hoax, as he admitted. But the initial report from the young man walking up the hill after his car broke down, he never said that was a hoax. He was a friend of Emmert, and Emmert did the hoax to prank him because he thought his story was so ridiculous. It's possible that first report was real. And if that first report was real, maybe some of the reports that came after it were real as well.
It's intriguing.
So, another possibility is that maybe Mr. Emmert, his initial report was real, and he was pressured somehow to change his report. We've heard about Men in Black, we've heard about government agencies, we've heard about, all sorts of different pressures that have been put on people to either recant or never share their cryptid sightings.
What would be the reasoning behind why they want him to shut up like that? I don't know. Seems like it wasn't even like that gigantic of a situation where the Men in Black would get involved entirely.
I guess the part that makes that less likely for me is that he recanted years after it happened. If it had been one of those things where, like, 2 days after it happened, he was like, hey, it was all a prank, I didn't see anything. I swear I didn't see anything. Then
yeah,
I would immediately think something was fishy about that. But you're right. It's hard to think of a reason why the government would suddenly decide 5 years later to shut this guy down.
I guess I do see what you mean, though. How many years did you say? Like 7?
I don't recall, actually.
I don't know. I just remember hearing it several years.
Several years, yeah.
Okay, several years in general. Still, it's more than a year, which is pretty crazy after they got shot in the foot and police were all involved. You're wasting their time, basically, if it really was a hoax.
Yes, if after the guy got shot in the foot, this guy came out and said, look, it was fake. The whole thing was fake. Then I would believe the police came to him and said, look, we're getting people hurt out here from this. You got to shut this down. You got to tell people this was fake.
Yeah, then it would show that he'd have some empathy behind why he suddenly did that.
Yeah.
But clearly not.
The other argument against it is apparently this is a guy who kind of has a reputation for stirring stuff up. He's kind of gone on to be kind of a loud media voice, and he likes to create controversy. So that this kind of matches his personality, that he would pull a prank like this and then tell everybody it was a hoax. So.
Yeah, I will say in the video that I saw of him, he didn't seem very regretful of it.
Yeah.
He kind of just talked about what he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's kind of I mean, we used to call them shock jocks, the disc jockeys on radio stations who would say outrageous stuff just to get people's attention. And, now people do that on YouTube all the time.
Yeah, I think now we just call it rage baiting.
Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of an expert at that. Doing it before anybody else, apparently, back in 72.
Yeah.
So another possibility that I'd like to throw out there is the idea that all of the original reports in 1972 were false. About the big 12-foot white-haired Bigfoot and the ones this guy made up and the mass hysteria ones. But maybe the recent ones aren't. Maybe something did move into Peoria in the last 20 years.
Be quite unlucky.
Yeah.
It's like you hear Emmert say, "Nope, it was all fake." Oh, thank goodness. And then you go out for a walk in the area. It's Bigfoot.
You're supposed to be fake.
Yeah. You thought you were safe from Bigfoot.
Yeah, you're right. That would be really unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of those possibilities and any others you guys can think of, which ones do you think are most likely?
I'm willing to gamble on B, where Emmert's report was a hoax, but some others that you mentioned were not in the same time period.
Mm-hmm.
I think in general it was a hoax, and I'm not convinced there are any more credible sightings after that, from what I've heard.
Even the more recent ones?
Yeah, even those I don't consider terribly credible.
Okay. Well, as I kind of alluded to earlier, I'm kind of going with choice B as well. I think that, clearly Emmert's was a hoax. Probably a lot of the others after that were hoaxes or mistaken identity. But I think the first sighting may have been real. And maybe a couple of the other ones after it may have been real. Because if these Bigfoot are still traveling the Illinois River now and still going through Peoria and still being seen, and I guess I give a little more credibility to those more recent sightings than you do, then why wouldn't they have been doing the same thing in 1972? So, only one way we're ever going to find out. We're going to have to go out to Peoria and Coal Hollow Road and
Absolutely.
Spend a little time out there and see if we can meet the big guy for ourselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Coming soon.
Yep. So, we'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And we'd love to hear, again, if you have any personal stories about the Coal Hollow Road or the Coal Hollow Monster or any Bigfoot sightings in Illinois or around Illinois. We love nothing more than to hear these firsthand accounts because the firsthand accounts to us are much more credible than the ones that are kind of passed on from person to person to person and then filtered through 3 other podcasts before they get to us, because we know there's a tremendous amount of embellishment that goes on. But when you guys tell us stories that you've actually seen for yourselves, then we really have to pay a lot closer attention to that. So thank you for those, and thank you for listening, and thank you for subscribing.